Hey everyone, this is John Klinghammer for the Kansas City Symphony Musicians. And it is Musician Monday once again. And once again it's 7 o'clock and we are going to talk to a member of the Kansas City Symphony live right here on the Instagram. And today we are talking to flutist and piccolo player Kayla Burggraf, who is a new member of the orchestra, just joined this past year in 2019. She hasn't even finished a full season yet because we got cut short due to the pandemic, which is of course ruining everything. But she's here to chat with us about piccolo and flute and her life and career and all that stuff. So let's see if I can find her on here. She's not here yet to join, but she will be shortly. In the meantime, the Kansas City Symphony Musicians, as I've mentioned many times in the past, we've been doing a lot of things around town on our awesome mobile music box, which is a very colorful, lovely trailer that we've been doing concerts on all around Kansas City this fall, which has been a lot of fun. We're sort of winding that up a little bit because the weather is getting colder, of course, and our instruments just can't survive too much longer out there. But it's been really great while it has lasted. There's Kayla. Ta-da!
Hello. Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Glad to hear it. So, thanks for joining us here live. I want to tell everyone as you're hopping on there, I put a page in the stories to ask questions. If you have questions about the flute, the piccolo, Kayla's career, anything else, sourdough making, which I know you're an expert at, feel free to ask those questions there, or you can just type them in right into the page here, and I'll see them and we can try to answer them. So let's talk about you. This is your first year in the orchestra. We got cut short in May. How's it been so far?
Well, up until that point, it was great. Everybody in the orchestra is wonderful, lovely humans as well as players. So the transition here was really smooth, and living here also. And actually, it's been a great place to weather the pandemic as well. And I have really enjoyed doing the things that the orchestra is doing. I've done porch concerts in the Kansas City neighborhoods and stuff on my own. And then now with the mobile music box concerts, I think I just feel so lucky to be part of an organization that is kind of taking this pandemic and all the bad crap that's going with it and trying to make community concerts happen and trying to share music that's still live in a safe way. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. You have a really cool group too. I think I was talking to Jen the other day and was like, oh, that's a cool group, flute, harp, and string quartet.
Yes, I have enjoyed doing that. It's always great. I know you probably feel the same way as your group is with strings too.
Yes,
just like
cello, violin, bassoon, clarinet. A little more unusual. But...
Oh, I didn't realize you had bassoon thrown in there.
Yeah.
To flute afternoon. We did just flute duos and solo pieces on the trailer concert that happened in Columbus Park. So that was kind of fun because
cool.
Flutes last a little bit into the cold weather. We don't have that fear of wood cracking.
Right.
But obviously the other woodwind instruments in his quintet couldn't do that concert.
Yeah. Do your pads start to stick? Like if it gets really cold?
Probably.
Yeah.
I haven't done too much.
Got there, yeah. I remember years ago playing Christmas carols with my clarinet, like caroling with the neighborhood, and like I suddenly realized that none of the keys would come up because they all just, I was like, okay, well, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, before I start asking you about your life and career here, somebody typed in a question. Jet Calderon
Oh, I'm
says,
looking.
starting to incorporate more piccolo to my flute practice. What are some good tips on tuning, books, and general knowledge? If you can fit all of that in a.
I'm so glad you asked this because it's like one of my favorite things to talk about. Just being a flute player and coming to the piccolo from, most of us do come from, a flute background. Most people aren't starting right away. But I think what's important is consistency. So not saying, oh, I'm going to practice piccolo, one day a week for 2 hours. It would be better if you spaced it out. I know when I was first starting to kind of like be like, oh gosh, I really got to work on my piccolo chops. It was more like a daily thing, getting it in, even for 15, 20 minutes. If you have a bunch of flute stuff that you have to practice, just get your face on the instrument. And then what exactly did you ask? Oh,
Tuning,
yes,
books.
general knowledge. I love the Patricia Morris book. That was actually, for the longest time, the only actually specific piccolo book that I own. She has just some really basic, great exercises that you can do with a drone. That's what I would do for intonation with piccolo, is just all the drone work. Scales with
What was the
drone.
name of that one again?
I'm not sure what it's called. The author is Patricia Morris, and it's something like the Complete Piccolo, 24 for Piccolo. It's a blue book. But yeah, so that actually, that book, then after she has a couple pages of just like warm up exercise, she goes into specific etudes that are all from flute etude books that, if you are studying flute pretty seriously, you have probably played a lot of those etudes on flute. But she picks out these etudes that are really helpful for piccolo. And I think that one of the most important things that you can do is just play the instrument, just play the piccolo and try to get comfortable on it. And that's going to happen in baby steps. It's over a long period of time. But playing any kind of flute repertoire or flute etudes are what I always kind of would get myself to do when I was trying to really progress on the piccolo quickly.
And for those of us that don't know, what is the thing? What is the key to going back and forth between flute and piccolo? I mean, I know that your aperture has to be incredibly small here, right, or whatever you call it, to
Right.
make a piccolo sound.
One of my former teachers, Leon Bicey, she's incredible, and she actually is amazing. Her first job in an orchestra was the piccoloist of Philharmonic, but then she went on to flute positions later in her career. And that first piccolo job, her piccolo sound incredible. She would always say, just make everything miniature on the piccolo, and it's all kind of a smaller. So if you're looking for that direct transfer from flute to piccolo, that's the biggest thing. I mean, it makes sense. The instrument is tiny. The tone hole that you're blowing into is much smaller. So everything, your whole aperture, you have to move less. Any movement that you do on the flute up and down for kind of purposes is going to be a lot more drastic on the piccolo.
That makes sense. And I've noticed that too. When I see you playing piccolo, you are very still.
Yeah.
that is,
it almost is a good practice in, you can get really out of hand being expressive and stuff with your movement. And then I feel like you have to, if you want to be expressive with piccolo movement, it better be like your full, like nothing's happening with, do not curve the lips.
that's not going to work. That's funny. Okay, so you went to high school. You say you don't call yourself an Iowan, but you landed in Iowa in high school. basically, after a lot of traveling around as a kid.
Yeah.
Right. And I was curious, you went to Rice University for an undergrad and then Manhattan School of Music, which are two huge, prestigious music schools. I think, I don't know if it's unusual. To me, it seems tricky to be from such a small town
Yes, certainly.
to find your way to places like that. Did you have a certain teacher, or how did that come about?
Yeah, definitely. In the nick of time, I had a great teacher, and she just got so prepared. I studied, starting my junior year of high school, I started studying with Nicole Esposito, who is the professor at University of Iowa.
Okay.
And 2.5 hours from where my family lives in Decorah. And yeah, my mom or dad would drive me there. We would go probably twice a month. And Nicole, I would love to tag her or something, but she seriously just whipped me into shape. She would teach me for like 2.5 hour long lessons. And then she spoke at long lengths with me and my parents. I remember so many conversations that she would kind of teach both my mom and I about, being a professional musician and auditioning for undergrad. It's really overwhelming, especially if you're not kind of linked into some kind of youth orchestra or there's other people doing it with you. It's just, it's a competitive world. And so you have to have the people on your side. I mean, she was even telling me, what repertoire to even show up and play at undergrad auditions. So she helped me to figure out what the good schools were for flute. And I was just super lucky to study with her for, it was a concert for a year and a half or so. But it was very formative, and then also just really helped me to get to the place, get to Rice, and then all afterwards. So I'm really thankful for that.
Cool. Had she gone to either of those schools, or was it?
No,
really?
She had done her undergrad at Carnegie Mellon with Jeannie Baxtresser, and then she did her master's degree at Michigan with Amy Porter. Both just incredible flute teachers, and places I actually was very close to going to Carnegie Mellon for both my undergrad and my master's. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And when did you start playing the flute? Were you like most of us 10 or 11 on wind instrument, or did you start earlier?
Yes, I started with good old middle school band.
Yeah.
I had played a lot of piano from a young age, and it kind of like for a while I was more serious about piano, and then only kind of middle of high school or so I became more serious about flute. I just enjoyed playing with other people a little bit more, and that's what my experience was lending itself to.
Right. Were you in a youth orchestra in high school?
I was not. No. I went to a couple summer camps that I got to play an orchestra in, and then all-state orchestra. But other than that, I really, and those are like such memorable experiences that, I think a lot of us, the first time you play an orchestra, like you remember exactly that piece.
Yeah.
It's such a kind of ingrained memory, kind of the feeling. I remember just like being in the orchestra playing Tchaik 5, which like does not have a great flute part, but I will just think that it was like the most amazing music and most amazing flute part ever, just because it was my first time playing in orchestra. So
I remember I actually, when I went to high school, to get into the band, you had to audition on Tchaik 4.
Oh.
And it was the hardest thing I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, what? How does one do this on a clarinet? I don't know. Are you from a musical family at all?
Not musical, but both my parents are artists, and my mom was a professional ballet dancer, and my dad is a master woodworker craftsman. So they both really encouraged playing music from a very young age, and have always been incredibly supportive, and just really love coming to concerts, and
Sure.
like supported me on this journey. So
Right. They're
yeah,
into it. Yeah.
for one fans, I think they might be on this chat.
I saw a Burggraf in there somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what is I'm just curious. A couple things. You mentioned how formative it was taking lessons in high school there before you went off to college. Where do you think where do you think the most growth in your playing? Was there like a stretch between high school into like where you are now, where you're like, oh, really figuring things out, and how and why did that happen?
That's a great question. I think, that was that first kind of spurt in my playing. Because I feel like the way that we improve is usually in a spurt, and then we plateau for a while, and that
Hmm.
plateau is often like incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
But
And we might
yeah,
think we're plateauing, but we're really kind of going like
right.
this.
So that first one that I really remember was studying with Nicole. She just gave me so many like tone exercises and articulation exercises and vibrato exercises that like finally I had these building blocks that I could really work with. And instead of just trying to play a piece over and over. And then, certainly while I was at Rice, it's the most I've ever practiced in my life. I practiced just a ton. Sometimes I think about how much I practiced then, or even just then on top of it, like had the instrument on my face a day. It was a lot. I don't want to say hours because I don't think it's about hours, so people shouldn't be.
Do you ever wonder what exactly it was you were practicing for all that time? You're like, what could I have
Yeah,
possibly done?
but it's like, okay, it was mindless, probably because it was so long. But at the same time, I feel like you just have to get hours in at some. And when you do that at like age 17, then like might as well take advantage of it. And yes, you need to learn mindfulness and how to practice more efficiently and diligently. But I think to be said about you just have to try things on the instrument. And but I remember there were actually a couple times in the summer when I had huge chunks, that horrible not getting into a summer festival, or and or Christmas break too, that I would practice a ton during those times. And it was almost freeing to not have lessons and have all the lessons that I had like with Miss Bizey in the prior year, finally be able to really like break those down, or spend more time than just a week in between a lesson to try to break things down and figure it out for myself and work that way. So I would say those summers were sometimes the most improvement that I can like really remember. Oh, I got so much better then.
Yeah. I think that's a thing a lot of people don't realize, is that you go and learn, like you have to learn from a great teacher to get better. I think like it's incredibly important. But the real learning actually happens when you're by yourself and really thinking and being creative and flexible about something, and you just suddenly go, oh, and that's what he meant, and then you have that that
And
jump.
like internalizing what they are saying, but then also recognizing that we're all different people, and this is a very physical thing that we're doing, especially, I don't know, I mean, string players obviously too, but wind players, we have this whole like inside your mouth, you can't even see that.
Right.
And so you really have to figure out your sound for yourself. It's teachers can help you, but you have to spend that time really breaking it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yes. So the piccolo strikes me personally as, and look, playing in an orchestra it's stressful depending on who you are. You know, we're all performers. There's stress involved. But I feel like the piccolo, in particularly, has an element of, I don't know, stress that maybe is a little bit more than most.
It's unique stress for sure.
Right. Because I mean, people think of the piccolo, oh, you're playing high and you're playing a bunch of whatever. But really, there are so many solos for the piccolo that are these insanely high, soft, sustained things
Yes.
that just I think require an incredible amount of poise and calm to be able to pull off. How do you think about that? How do you deal with whatever nerves might come your way, or I don't know,
Right.
the nature of being a piccolo player?
Yeah, so I think again this came from like a flute journey into piccolo, which those two stressful scenarios are so different. Um, like even just for the example of flute excerpts versus piccolo excerpts. So like in an audition for a flute excerpt, maybe you have 30 seconds to a minute to 2 minutes even. Like our Daphnis solo is like over 2 minutes long.
Right.
That you have in an audition to show whatever you have to offer. But then in a piccolo audition, like the longest excerpt is 30 seconds. So you need to nail it. And I think that's the hardest part, is that you don't have any time to redeem yourself when you play the piccolo. I think that it just has to be there, like the moment that it's
Right.
because then it's over. And so in terms of dealing with that, I think watching other people play the piccolo and how they do it is really, really helpful to me. Like I have gone to so many Chicago Symphony concerts and I always watch Jen Gunn, and he sits there just with such calm and ease and poise, and I only hope to like emulate some of that, just to try to like, okay, if I look calm on the outside, then maybe I can pretend on the inside that I am calm. And then maybe it will go better, because if you're calm, you know, it probably will go. So I don't know. And honestly, I'm scared about going back into after this very long hiatus. You know,
Yeah, right.
it's
Do you ever actually pretend to be someone else?
I haven't tried that, no, but it sounds like a good.
I think it's kind of fun. Like I just like there's somebody that I really like the way they look when they play, and they seem really just confident. I'm just like, I'm just gonna be that guy for a second, you know. It's kind of sometimes it works.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, you mentioned that you really loved the Mahler 10 performance this past year, which is a great example of that. I feel like
I say that I really loved it, but I believe the question you asked was most memorable.
Memorable.
I can't say that I love that. So for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, I didn't know this before I played it, but you play third flute / piccolo. That's the part. And you kind of play a little bit of flute throughout, but there's a lot of sitting, lots of rest. It's a big string focus piece. But then the last 3 notes of the piece, you gotta whip out the piccolo, and it's super soft, super high, and it's just 4 notes. It's 4 notes. Yeah, and that was terrifying. That was really, really terrifying. And it's just you in unison with the first violins. So that's why that was memorable to me, because you just have to kind of peck it out, and it has to be there, and it has to be very quiet and blended, because nobody's heard the piccolo for the entire piece. So
that's crazy. I didn't realize that you're playing flute the whole time, and then you
yeah,
jump up and the piccolo.
you don't even touch the. Thankfully, it goes upwards, so you start on a slightly more comfortable note, but it's still I think the first note is a D flat. Yeah. So.
Well, also memorable because you played it so well and everyone enjoyed it so much. So, despite how stressful it might have been to a certain degree. That's funny. That Mahler 10 is like a piece nobody really knows
Yeah.
at the time. I mean, it's not something that gets played every day, so it's like a
Yeah.
real. It's unusual that an orchestra might play something by Mahler and be like, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
That was fun. Okay, before we get into this amazing quiz that I know you're gonna ace, I wanted to ask you. You said you were working on a project recording Mozart Flute and Harp Concerto Cadenzas. What does that mean? Can you tell us about that?
So I do think I saw her, and I'm not sure if she's still here, but a dear friend of mine that I played with in the Des Moines Symphony, her name is Erin Brooker Miller. She had this whole idea for this project that was to record cadenzas for the Mozart Flute and Harp Concerto. So there's just, I mean, I think this happens to a lot of people when they're going to play that concerto. Oh,
Here she is.
um, so where people can't find a cadenza that they like, and the most difficult part of it is that they can't quickly listen to a recording of that cadenza, and then also trying to imagine two parts playing, so that you can't really like even just try it out yourself. So yeah, Erin had this great idea, and just to use some of our downtime currently to maybe get a resource going of sorts.
Right.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. This is an awesome idea. Would have loved recordings of different ones when choosing which to use.
Yes, that's very good. Former Harp.
Yeah. Somebody else asked here, do you prefer Jupiter or Gamine harp? They are playing a Jupiter 611 flute. Flute or piccolo? Flute.
Oh, I am assuming flutes. I don't know. I am not the best person to ask that. You should, a lot of the time for those entry level, it's so important to like the maintenance and how those are kept in adjustment. A lot of times I feel that that's what students are struggling with at the beginning. If they're having an instrument specific thing, it's not necessarily an upgrade. It's more like, are all the keys sealing? So I would just make great shape if you were looking to purchase one of them. But yeah.
I think that's probably true of a lot of instruments like that. It's really about making sure they're working well. All right, cool. All right, are you ready for this?
I don't know.
All right. This is like my favorite part of this is making up these things. Okay, so you're a flute player that plays the piccolo, right? Small instrument, big instrument, small version of a bigger instrument. So the quiz is basically big things and small things, or a thing that's big but is also small. I don't know. It's
all right. I like that coming from the bass clarinet player.
That's right. I'm going the other direction.
Yes.
Okay, so there's 5 questions, by the way. 5 questions. An exhibition, not a competition. Okay. Question number 1. While Dr. Evil might try to torture you by performing on a flute, the piccolo might be suggested by this sidekick of his.
I have nothing.
No, Dr. Evil. See, we were wondering about this.
What is Dr. Evil from?
Dr. Evil is it's Austin Powers' nemesis in the Austin Powers movie, the bald guy that goes like $1 million. No.
Lost.
Oh boy. So you said you were a true classical music geek in a sense, and maybe that's going to be your downfall.
This is going to be a downfall. See, and then any friends that I have here are going to make fun of me here. So.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome for that. All right. Well, let's see. I'll tell you the answer. Oh, yes, the answer is Mini Me. Mini Me is
Great.
is the name.
I guessed it.
Name of the small Dr. Evil. Okay. Question number 2.
Oh, here's my thing. Blame your mom.
Blame your mom. There you go. Always blame your parents.
Yeah.
Question number 2. Little and adorable this one is, but weak he is not.
Also,
terrible voice.
Really not.
Little and adorable this one is, but weak he is not.
You sound like the person in Princess Bride.
Oh, wait.
Oh God, they're all making fun of me. This is
Oh, Kayla, I love it.
this is so. I think we need to end the quiz early.
Somebody help Kayla out and tell her who it is. I want to see somebody answer the question.
Star Wars.
It's a Star Wars character.
If you gave me a Harry Potter, I'd be right there.
You'd be oh, that's too bad. I totally would love doing a Harry
Star Wars. I don't know.
Not gonna happen. Well, I tried to keep it contemporary because you're one of the kids. It's Baby Yoda yes, Yoda, but in this case, Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's little and adorable. Yeah, okay. All right. Let's see.
You're getting to start.
How are you? How is your gangster rap knowledge?
Also horrid. I told you that I'm a classical music nerd. Like that's all.
You did tell me that. I don't know.
I feel that you designed this quiz after I gave you all of that
information.
We're like, okay, let's really embarrass her and show everyone.
That's not why. I was not trying to do that at all. Amulet Strange is so glad she's watching this.
I'm sad you're watching this, Amulet.
All right. Well, we just have to get through it because the answers are so great and they're all about little things. All right. Here we go. Question number 3. This is just for the audience now. Like a confused flutist Piccolo player, this deceased notorious rapper couldn't choose between big versus small. And the answer is actually in the question.
Notorious?
Yeah. Or big versus small, actually. Okay, that's Biggie Smalls, otherwise known as the Notorious B.I.G.
Yes.
One of your favorite rappers, I can tell. All right, here we go. Couldn't help you on that one. Okay. I think you might get this one. Well, let me see. This dangerous little guy would love to play his favorite song on the piccolo for you. Do 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 do.
Baby Shark.
Baby Shark! Yes! Maria's so proud of you.
5.
1 out of 5. All right, there's one more. Let's see. You could go 2 for 5. Who knows?
Oh, somebody just said in her defense, she's not that old about the Biggie Smalls.
Biggie Smalls. I understand. Like I know. I just never know. Like who knows what about things. When is Biggie Smalls from? Late 90s? Whatever. All right. Number 5. The piccolo is a great way to explore new musical dimensions, but maybe not quite small enough to travel with this tiny Avenger to the quantum realm.
Also, not.
He's portrayed by Paul Rudd. Does that help?
No, because I haven't watched any of that whole series.
You have no Avenger knowledge whatsoever.
Never.
Harry Potter. Okay, next time the quiz is going to be all Harry Potter questions.
Okay, I think I would do well then.
Okay, good. All right. Next time, because we're gonna do this again tomorrow.
Let's hope that instead of this, we can one day, because I do know about.
Absolutely, that's what I really want to be doing.
Tell her I predicted that this was.
Maria would like to say that she predicted that this quiz might not go well.
Yes, And Maria, why did you not help to design a quiz that I would ace?
She can't stop me. It's like there's no. See, the problem is Maria doesn't know any of these answers either. Ant-Man. See, somebody got Ant-Man. Oh, I didn't say the answer. It was Ant-Man. The Avengers. The Avengers
Oh,
guy.
okay.
Ant-Man. What's your Hogwarts house? Somebody wants to know what house you are.
I think that you're just like not rooting for the right team if you don't say Gryffindor for that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like it's like, well then, where do you stand in the entire series?
Right. If you're into Slytherin, let's talk about your policies.
Serious.
Like that's funny, but
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm not going to continue, but
yeah,
yes.
that's fine. That's fine. All right, cool. Well, Kayla, thank you for humoring the quiz. You're a very good sport, and it was fun talking to you about flute and piccolo things.
Yes.
And
yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we will be playing some music together again soon.
Yes.
Yay.
Hopefully. The world is crazy. Everybody stay safe. Wear your mask.
Please stay safe and wear your mask out there, guys. Thank you for joining us and watching, and for your comments. Some very active comments this time, which I love.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Kayla.